Hi, guys. Sorry about that delay, but something happened in the background, but we're back. Thank you, Amanda, for letting me know. So, we have a little time to let everybody get in. Put your comments there. Sorry about the delay, but welcome to Tucked In Tuesdays. I'm so glad that you joined me. We have a very special guest, but because of his delays, my delays, he has delays, but he'll be back in just a little bit. But he is my favorite author. Hi, Vicky, a fellow librarian. Hello. That have been with me and a fellow librarian, not that I'm a librarian, but a fellow book lover, I should say. So if anybody remembers the beginning, hi, the Baldwins are there. Hello. If all of you remember, my very first time doing Tucked In Tuesdays was just something that I saw, borrowed the idea, and this was the first book that I read. So incredibly excited. If you haven't read, please read Michael Hall, A Crayon Story. Great story. So I thought, if I'm going to do this story, I might as well do this story this week. And here's my special guest. I'll bring him out now. It's the author. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hello.
So Michael Genesis said hello. She's one of my former students. She said, hey.
Hello, Genesis.
And Vicky Beatty has probably seen several of your books. She's a librarian.
Good.
Hey. And then this is Amanda Baldwin. She has the little boy who has the book that's very excited. And we're going to invite him on as a special guest to ask you a question in a little bit. So Amanda, I'll be sending you that link shortly. So Michael Hall, I just have some of the books, some of the books that you wrote. And guys, when I read this book, when I was on Sarah and Strahan and Sarah, Michael Hall, I met him virtually and I cried because he doesn't understand how important he is to me. And so HarperCollins sent me all
nice. Oh, that's right.
Books, tons and tons and tons and tons of books. And all of them have a great message, and the illustrations in them are grand. So here is, he says, hi, Michael.
Hi, Amanda. Or was it Amanda?
That would probably be Kinsler.
Okay.
And then this is Chloe. Oh, that was Chloe. So now Chloe's saying hello. They're twins. Chloe.
Hello. Hello. Twins. I can see, by the way, that you're missing a couple of books now.
No, I just didn't grab them all.
Oh, well, no, I've been working on some new ones.
Oh, no, I don't have those. I have so many books. And, I have, Michael, I have so many books. And you are the only author that I don't have an autographed book from.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
That's crazy. All right. I'll send you a Frankencrayon. Oh, well, we'll talk about that.
Okay. We'll talk about it. But we got to get into Frankencrayon. So what, do you know the number book that this is written? Do you know?
I do know it is number 6.
Number 6. So
because Red was 5, and that's very memorable because that one, it's a lot of people want to ban it, and so that's very memorable. And then Frankencrayon was the next one. So,
your book is on the ban list.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll make sure to read it.
Good, yeah. No, I was very proud of that.
It's one of my favorite books, and it has such a great message. Amanda was telling me that she read the book as well, and she loves it. So Mike is here. Mike said, I miss your Tucked In Tuesdays. Welcome back. Well, thank you, Mike. So we're going to get started with Frankencrayon. And there's a picture book, Cast and Crew. So we have this. And then how fitting that it says canceled on it. This picture book has been canceled, but not for the reasons that Red was canceled. So this picture book has been canceled. Please close the book and find something else to read. So right now I'm thinking that they really don't want me to read this book, which makes me want to read it even more. And so the orange crayon says, I can't believe it's been canceled. And Green says, it was my first starring role. And Purple says, it was my first supporting role. So, Michael, this is the first time that I've ever read this book. From now on, Tucked In Tuesdays, I only read them the night of, so kids can know if they make a mistake or they pronounce something wrong.
Yes.
It's totally okay. So here we go. Purple, help, someone just turned the page. Orange says, take my hand. And Green says, hey, someone must be reading this book. And the pencil says, you're right, I'll talk to them. And so there's Tracy sending you some hearts. Pencil says, hello out there. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this picture book has been canceled. And Purple says, tell them what happened. And Green says, tell them about the scribble. And Orange says, and don't leave anything out. So there's some chaos already in this book. So Pencil says, well, let's see. In the beginning, everything went according to plan. The crayons were in their costumes, and I was getting them into position. And they're all in costume there, as you can see. All dressed so nice. And then Black says, this should be fun. And Yellow says, I'm so excited. And Royal Blue says, I hope I don't forget my lines. And the Pencil says, Frank and Crayon, go to page 22. That's where you'll make your dramatic entrance, just like we practiced. And then Green is stacked on top of Orange, and Orange is stacked on top of Purple. Green says, right. Orange says, got it. Purple says, page 22. I think I'm getting the gist of it, why they're called Frank and Crayon. So Pencil says, this story began with the frightened townspeople talking about a horrible monster lurking in their town. And Till says, there's a horrible monster lurking in our town. And Black says, oh no. And Yellow says, I'm so scared. And then Pencil says, suddenly, without warning, the lights went out. I'm supposing on the next page it's going to be dark. I was right. Great! And there's the red crayon. So Amber, what is it, Amber? What is it? Because Amber yells, is she yelling, I think. Okay. And then Pencil says, someone turn on the lights, please. And Pencil says it was a scribble. It went all the way across 2 pages. And Yellow says, it's horrifying, hideous. Green Lime says, hideous. And Black says, horrendous. And Till says, a scribble can ruin a picture book. And Pencil says, don't worry, we'll take a sharp break. No pun intended. I added that. We'll take a sharp break while the crew cleans the page. So we're going to have hopefully a clean page. Let's see. But the scribbles got bigger. And Orange and Azure says, I think we made it worse. And then Yellow and Amber says, it's absolutely awful. Amber says, appalling. And Black says, atrocious. And Till said, it's making a mess of our story. And the Pencil says, cast members, we need more help. Oh my goodness. So Pencil says, even 4 crayons scrubbing hard couldn't stop the scribble. That didn't go well, Arkin and Azura say. And then Royal Blue says, it's distressing. And Black says, disturbing. Lime says, dreadful. And then the Pencil says, we need more help. Hurry, please. Oh, they're saying, what a mess. It is a mess, Amanda. This is a mess. Let's see. But the scribble was out of control. So Royal Blue says, it's alive. And Till says, we've created a monster. And Orchid says, let's get out of here. So everybody's running, scattering, and they're laughing. It is funny. The story was falling apart, and that's when the really terrible news arrived. Official notice. We regret to tell you that we decided to cancel this picture book. How come? We're almost halfway done. Official notice, because no one likes the scribble thing. The characters are gone. Isn't there supposed to be a mad scientist in this story? Yes, but I dropped the mad scientist because he was difficult. Official notice. We know you're disappointed, but we ask that you leave this book right away. Oh my goodness. Should I close the book or should I keep going? I feel like I should close the book, but then I want to keep going. What could I do? I turned out the lights and left. And that's what happened. So Orange says, whoa, hang on. That's not the whole story. And purple says, you know what we're talking about. And green says, how you forgot to tell us. And pencil goes, okay, let's see. Well, it's pretty upset at the time. And in my sadness, I forgot to tell Frank and Crayon. So on page 22, roar! Wait, where are the frightened townspeople? Isn't this page 22? I'll turn on the lights. So here we have Frank and Crayon ready for his big scene. Everybody's gone. The scribble has taken over the back of the book. And green says, hello, who are you? And orange says, I don't think it can talk. And purple says, let's give it a mouth. Hop off. So here's Scribble. I think if they give Scribble a mouth, then, oh, the kids say, keep going. Okay, I'm going. So they gave it a mouth. Look at that mouth. He looks even scarier now. He wasn't so scary before. Hello, I need to get moving. I'm late for an important event. Can you help me? Oh, so he's able to talk now. And purple says, of course we can. And orange says, it's what crayons do. And green says, I'll fix you up in a flash. So maybe he's not as bad. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Oh, they gave him legs. Oh, they look like my little legs. Michael, did you steal my little legs?
I did, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
And they said, cutie. So they say he's cute. And the kid says, I want it. They want the scribble. Maybe we can get a stuffed scribble or something. What a beautiful scribble. And then orange says, I wish it didn't have to go. And purple says, come on, let's find the frightened townspeople. So it's leaving. It says, thank you. Then pencil narrates, eventually I came back to look for the costumes and found Frank and Crayon eating oranges in the green room. And green says, where is everybody? And orange says, we have a few things to tell you. And pencil says, I have terrible news. Hello, Lillian Brown. And pencil says, I guess that's about it. We'll probably never know who scribbled on the page to begin with, but at least this has been a learning experience for all of us. And orange says, right. Lesson number 1, don't forget to tell everyone when a story has been canceled. Lesson number 2, don't try to unscribble a scribble by scribbling on it. And lesson number 3, even a messy scribble can be a lovely thing. They say goodbye. But I feel like there's something else. I knew it. Screech! Wait, don't forget lesson number 4. Never drop the mad scientist from the Frankenstein story. Official notice. So he's still there. So tell me what inspired you. And let me put this information up because the kids need to know this. Your book is an AR book, is an accelerated reader book. So when the kids read the book, they can take a short quiz and get points for them. So the quiz number is 182259, is a book level 2.4, which is a ZPD of a second grader on a 4th month, and it is 0.5 points. Michael, what inspired you to write that book? Because after read, tell us about Frank and Crayon and how it got there.
Well, after read, I still had a lot that I wanted to say about crayons. And the thing about Frank and Crayon was that I thought that it would be funny. Just thinking about crayon, there's this old expression that if your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I thought crayons would think if they had a problem like a scribble, they would crayon on it in order to fix it. But of course, that would just make it worse. And so I thought that would be funny, that it would keep getting worse and worse. And that was sort of the beginning of Frank and Crayon. And eventually I thought, well, something the book should be canceled because of this scribble that they can't fix. So then it was a whole new thing where it had to be called a story that wasn't actually going to be told, because the Frankenstein story isn't told here. It's the story of why this story wasn't told. And so it got very complicated, and It's by far the most complicated book I've ever made. And when I was making it, I had a very, very simple version and a very, very complicated version. And I work with a woman named Virginia Duncan, who is my editor, who helps me get my books ready to be published. And we both liked the simple version and the complicated version. And every time we talked about it, we kept saying, it's really complicated, you know. But we really decided to do the complicated one. And I'm very happy about it because it's one of the most requested books I have.
I love it. And let me tell you why I love it. Because at one point, and I always get the wrong message from your books, because your books are, each book has everybody takes away a life lesson from it, but it just depends on what you're going through. The Red book, I don't know how many kids and parents I read this book to or gave this to parents as a way to have a conversation with their kids. So just know your book did a lot of good.
Thank you.
And so Franken Crayon, when I was looking, I was thinking that Franken Crayon maybe was doing something with Red, the Red crayon, and I was expecting the Red crayon to pop in somewhere because all of the writing was on Red, canceling the book. And so I was thinking Red is the villain. Oh my goodness. But I never saw Red or anything remotely close to Red. So I was blaming somebody that wasn't even in the book. And so they already had an issue. And instead of them working with the simple issue, they just made it worse. And they actually became part of the problem and not the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, they had to go back and fix what they actually created. And when they gave them a mouth, I was really leery because I didn't know what would happen. When they gave them a mouth or how it would feel after being scribbled on and then being blamed. But it had a very nice ending. So as before I let my little friend come in, I know his mom's getting him all set up. Okay. I need to know, what is your favorite part of this book?
Well, you know, I think just to talk about the mouth, that was really important to me because all of my books are about characters who are misunderstood for one reason or another. And this is a character who had no voice, and everyone thought it was a very scary thing. And Frankencrans finally said, well, let's give it a mouth. And it talked to them and it became a real person. And they thought, well, this is such a beautiful thing and not something to be afraid of. And so that was an important part. There's a little part that is on the back cover. If you want to show them the back cover, it's all of the crayons. When they ran away, they ran to the back cover, and they're all standing there saying, "Oh my gosh, where are we? Oh, we're on the back cover." And they look up and see this butterfly, and they say, "Oh, it's elegant, exquisite, extraordinary." And then the question is for the readers, and I don't expect anyone to get this right away, but I like things that you get after the fifth or sixth time you read it. But you know, the butterfly is the scribble. The scribble was actually a caterpillar that had a very important thing to do, which was to become a cocoon and a butterfly. So.
Oh, and you know what? While you were giving me that little history lesson, which I would have never noticed, I just realized the red crayon is in there. It's the man.
Is in there, right. The red crayon is the mad scientist, and a lot of kids get that pretty quickly. So I like that. My editor wanted me to put Red from Red, a Crayon Story in there, and I thought, no, Red cannot be in this story. This is a different story.
But Red needed to be in that story because Red really never really made a debut.
I think Red might be on the back flap. Was Red on the back flap? I think we may have put it.
Yes, there's a little quote. I did see it, and it says, "It's about being true to your inner self."
There we go. Yeah. So I didn't want Red to be in the story because I thought that would be so confusing. And it wasn't confusing enough.
Yeah, but it was a very good book, and it allows for a lot of conversation because sometimes when things look different from us, we tend to steer away from it. So this is a
Right,
great
right.
life lesson for adults and kids.
Right.
And then Mike says some people may not be able to use their voice to speak, but they do speak to us. That's true.
Yes.
Mike is a huge autism advocate, and he and our little Baldwin bunch is there. So we can't. You're not on camera yet, but I'm about to bring out the family of Baldwins. Okay, Michael,
Okay.
are you ready
All
for
right.
them? All right, Chloe and Kanzler and Amanda. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, she's showing her medal. What does it say?
Nice.
2022 third grade top 10 on AR. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
And there's Frank and Crayon. I think
Frank and
they're
Crayon.
muted. Let me unmute them. Amanda. Let's see. Can you unmute them? I think they're muted. Right on your little bottom picture at the bottom, there's a little mute and unmute button. But while they're coming in, they have the book. And
Hi.
there they are, Kinsler and Chloe.
I was in.
So they have some questions for you about your
Okay.
book.
All
All
right.
right. Kinsler, what's your question?
Can I go first? Let's go first. What inspired you to make the book?
Well, that's a good question. I was inspired when I was a lot younger, many years ago.
Why are we echoing?
There was a woman named Mickey Myers, and she made these beautiful posters, and they were just sort of drawings, but very, very realistic drawings of crayons, just flat crayons. And I thought the crayons were so beautiful all by themselves. And I loved that so much that when I started to make books, I thought, well, I'm going to make at least one book about crayons. And so I did make a book called Red, and then Red got me thinking about Frankencrayon. And then I got sick of crayons, and I wrote like 4 or 5 more books. And now I'm really excited about crayons again. I've got like 3 different books I want to make about crayons. So we'll see what happens, because I have a publisher who also tells me whether or not they want to actually make the book. So thank you. That's a good question.
What about you, Kinsler?
What the?
What do you think? That was a good question, huh? What's your question, KB?
Why is it echoing?
I don't know. We have an echo, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's not an echo on our end. When you
Oh,
hear
good.
it, you hear it.
What do you want to ask him?
I like your book.
Oh, thank you.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Okay.
When you were like drawing, or not drawing, writing the book, did you like make up the words along the way in the picture? Like, did you
Did I make a what along the way?
like just write the words?
Oh,
to,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, good question. No, I did the words and the pictures pretty much at the same time,
At
because
the same time.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
he's
thought-
good. He's good.
because I thought, well, I want to say this, and I thought, well, we can do this with a picture, and then we'll do this with words, and I went back and forth. Sometimes I do books, like I did a book called Perfect Square and a book called My Heart is Like a Zoo. And in those 2 books, I almost did all of the pictures before I did any of the words.
Oh.
And then I did a book called Cattail, which is all about words. And I did a lot of words, but then I had to make sure that there were pictures that worked with the words. So sometimes I do words first, sometimes I do pictures first, but a lot of times I do them both at the same time.
Now, I know that Chloe draws, Michael, because she did some drawing once before. So tell us about your illustrations, because your illustrations are not necessarily drawings. You do a
Right.
neat technique. Tell her about your neat tech, and her and Kinsler about your neat technique that you
Yeah, I wish I had something to show you, but most of Red and Frankencrayon are made from cut paper. So I cut paper, usually out of black paper, and then I put the pieces of paper in the computer, and then I put them all together in the computer. So I have all of the pieces, but I don't put them all together until they're all in the computer, and then I can do that in the computer. And then all of those drawings, of course, I did with crayons, and I had these wonderful crayons called woody crayons, and they're big, bold crayons, and you can just scribble really hard, and they don't break, and they make huge colors.
Well, I love that. I see they went out for a second. They may have had a little thing, so they'll be back. But they heard they're going to hear your response. I love that. And those are called woody crayons.
They're called woody crayons. Yes, they're
Woody crayons.
somewhere in between a crayon and I don't know, but they're wonderful.
And
they only come in about maybe 12 colors. So, in fact, well, but pretty much all of the illustrations I did were in black, and I added the colors in the computer.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to have more control over the color.
I love it. That makes me, because your artwork is just so, you know what, I think we discussed it, that I thought it was tissue paper, like you put in a gift. And that you layer it. That's what I thought it was. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, and those, I do the cut paper, and then I paint on paper, and then I put them together in the computer. So
that's pretty neat. So, Michael, we're at the end, but I always like to tell my biggest takeaway from your book, and then you give us your takeaway. So my takeaway from Frank and Crayon is that sometimes, from an adult perspective, that we create mountains out of molehills. We make things worse than what they seem, and then we get afraid and we just stop. Like at one point, I wanted to stop reading. And like the Baldwin says, no, keep going. Well, I was not that it would have changed what happened at the end of the book. And that's just how life is. It's not going to change the outcome if you push past your fear, except that you'll be able to say, I overcame my fear. But I kept reading only to learn that everything that was happening in the book was working for the good of a butterfly, but nobody could see this beauty in it because it was the way it looked in the beginning. So hi, Amelia, Aubrey, and Avery. And the Baldwin said, thank you so much for talking to us about the book and how you wrote the story and pictures. So what is your biggest takeaway? What do you want everybody to take away from your book?
I think there are a lot of things that people could get out of it. And sometimes there are things that I hadn't thought of. But, I think a lot about several things. One, I think a lot about being able to appreciate and understand people that are different than you. And this is sort of about that. It's sort of this scribble, and it's a scary thing until they start to talk to it. That's one thing. The other thing is I spend a lot of time thinking about what beauty is and what does it mean and what's the relationship between beauty and truth. And this is one of those books where I was thinking about that. I was thinking about what is beautiful. And I do think beauty tends to come from imperfection and, all sorts of things, but it doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from, in fact, I have a whole book about that called Perfect Square. But so those two things, I guess, are things I would touch on. But I think there are a lot of things that you could, I hope there are a lot of things you can find in it. That's important to me.
Yes.
And can I say one thing to
Sure.
Whoever somebody said, sometimes you can talk without speaking. Is that right? Something like that? And that really touched me. And I feel like part of why I'm an author is because I'm not always very comfortable with people. And I'm not very good in crowds. And I don't like crowds of people. And I don't like noise. But it's so nice to be able to sit in my studio and make things and send them and communicate with people in that way. So maybe if that person would think, there are ways, and I totally agree with you, there are ways you can speak without talking or get your ideas across. And so anyway, that feels like my story. So.
I love that. And then I miss you too, Genesis. I miss you so much. And tell your mom, Amber, I said hello. And Amanda wants to know if she can get 2 signed books.
I think she can. I wonder if she can email me, and then I can tell her how to do it.
Okay. I'll send her, I'll put your email address.
Okay, great.
That I have.
Yeah, because we can do that. I usually do it through a bookstore, and that would be great.
You're a little far away.
Yeah, I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah, we would have to. Oh, she said the twins typed that. So here's the website right there. And she said the twins typed that. And she said, yes, I will. So there is the email address, those of you that would like an autographed book from him. And then I have to say hello to this family, Ava, Ari, and Pop Pop. They're loyal people. They're always here to listen to me read. And I stopped for a long time, and now I'm back. So it's glad to see them. And I don't see their little message. And Virtuous, she's an author. And she says, oh, how I miss you. But hi, Ava, Ari, and Pop Pop. Glad to see you guys here. So, Michael, I always like to leave them with a message that says, if nobody else loves you, Dr. George loves you. Do you have a message that you share with everyone that you like to share with this group?
I just think that whatever it is about you that you feel doesn't fit is probably the thing that makes you just the most wonderful person in the world.
So true. And Michael, you have like I need you to do a video where you just talk so I can go to sleep. Your voice is so soothing. I keep catching myself just relaxing. You have a very soothing voice. So you need to narrate your books. It's a very soothing voice. Hello, Joelle. It's good to see you again. So guys, thank you. But before we go, where can they purchase your book, Michael? And what else did I want to say? How can they purchase your book and any website information that you have?
Well, my website is called michaelhallstudio.com. And you can get information about buying all my books on that website. There's a list of books, and in all the books it tells you where you can get them. And of course, we always like it. I mean, I get things from Amazon, but we love to have things bought at independent bookstores. And so I try to do everything I can through independent bookstores.
Thank you. I need to open an independent bookstore here. I don't think we have any. Could be tucked in Tuesdays.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll have to look into that. You still have people coming in saying hello. Henrietta says, Dr. George, you're amazing. Thanks for doing this. Javon says hi. And so you'd be saying hi all night, Michael. Many people know how I feel about you. But one more question. How many books to this date have you written?
Well, I'm working on my 12th book. And I've written more than that, but I've published 11, and it's taken me a long time to get this 12th book. And I've done things that my editor doesn't like, and I've done things that I don't like. And there was something about the, what did we just go through? I can't think. Oh, the pandemic. And I thought I was going to be do so much work during the pandemic, and I actually did so little. And I'm not quite sure. I haven't quite figured that out. Anyway, I think I know what my 12th book is going to be, and I'm very excited about it.
Well, that's exciting. So there are apparently, you said 4 books that I don't have yet?
I think, let's see. I mean, I don't think you have Do you have Little Eye? I don't think you have
I
Little
have
Eye.
Little Eye.
Do you have Monkey Time?
I have Monkey Time.
Okay, well then you're just missing Swing.
I have Swing. You actually, when you debuted Swing, you
Oh, that's right.
contacted
You
me,
said something that
and
I
I
appreciate
read
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was nice of you.
I think I have them all.
Well, maybe you don't have House Mouse.
I don't have House Mouse. 'Cause
Okay, there we go.
that's the only one I don't have, and I don't have them all, but I do have these stacked in
You
front
got
of
a
me.
lot of them. Yeah, that's great.
They're all.
Well, sometime I've got to come over and sign all of those.
Oh God! Don't tell me that. I'll get all. She's gonna turn her head. If you're ever in Texas, Texas is very big. But if you're ever in Texas,
I've been there. I've been to Dallas. I've been to Houston. I've been to Austin.
I'm just an hour and a half away from Houston. And
Okay.
which state are you in again?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. We went to Minnesota. We talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Minnesota to the Mall of America. We
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
And I needed to come back. Yes. But thank you so much, Michael, guys. Thank you for joining. Make sure you share it, purchase the books. And Michael, we hope to see you back soon. I love you.
And I love you too. Thank you so much.
Yes. So good night, guys. Good night. And then I do have a little one that asks, can they read a book next week? Sure. We'll discuss a book. I don't know if it's Kinsler or Chloe, but we'll discuss a book. Good night, guys.